It was hot yesterday, really hot. Maybe it's time to talk about climate change. Some people are, I think the polite phrase is, climate skeptics. I have no time or energy for them. My words are for those who understand that our climate is changing and we are changing it. Responding to climate change involves two possible approaches. One is reducing and stabilizing the levels of heat-trapped greenhouses in the atmosphere. This is called mitigation. And two is adapting to the climate change already in the pipeline. This is called adaptation. We are doing neither. Humans have never lived on a planet with carbon dioxide levels over 400 parts per million. We passed carbon dioxide levels over 400 parts per million in 2013. Carbon dioxide levels over 400 parts per million had not previously occurred in probably more than 300 million years. No public policy has in any way slowed down the steady and regular increase in carbon dioxide levels over my lifetime. I can only conclude this. For all of our hemming and hawing, we are not doing anything, at least not anything effective, to mitigate climate change. Did you know that it takes 10 years for the carbon dioxide emitted today to make its way up into the atmosphere where it plays its role in the greenhouse effect? The next 10 years of warming are locked in, and we are doing what is effectively nothing to make the next 10 years after that any better. Let's stop pretending that the odd wind or solar project is going to rescue us from our inevitable climate-changed future. I am sorry. I'm really sorry that I had to say that. Nobody, young or old, wants to hear just how hopeless our future is. We do not want to hear about how many tipping points we have passed in the last few decades. We do not want to hear that the time to act, if we hope to mitigate the consequences of climate change, was not just a few decades ago, but maybe a half a century ago. If voters elected tens of thousands of people just like me to represent them in government, we would bring the very smartest people we could find into the room and enact the most effective policies available to us so that we could assure as many generations as possible of a habitable earth on which to live. This is the point at which I'm supposed to offer you, the voter, something that sounds like hope. If we can't or won't mitigate the consequences of climate change, what we must do is adapt. And absolutely nobody is talking about adaptation. Oh, the odd conversation is had about rain gardens that might help us cope with the impact of periodically heavy rainfall, but that is about as serious as it gets. If the inland portions of continents, including our own, become arid, and it becomes difficult or impossible to grow grains at scale, how will we meet the caloric needs of a growing population? Do the state and local leaders even feel that it is any part of their responsibility to make sure that the population of people they represent will have sufficient food in a climate-changed future? Systemic failure is a prospect that each elected representative should be prepared for, whether that failure occurs due to climate change or some other cause. It is a conversation so difficult that we cannot have it. And any political figure who dares to bring it up, myself included, will lose the support of those who are made uncomfortable by it. Perhaps I will lose your support. Perhaps I never had it. And so I will make the boldest statement on the subject that I dare make, and I will wait to hear from you. The ecological footprint of humanity has exceeded the carrying capacity of the earth upon which we live, and we have been in a state of population overshoot for at least 3 decades, going on 4 decades. Climate change is just one of the consequences of our failure to address the problems outlined in 1972 by MIT scholars in their report to the Club of Rome entitled "The Limits to Growth." Candidates and voters who view growth as the way out do not understand the place in which we find ourselves. I feel that we owe it to our current and future generations to leave this planet as habitable as possible by mitigating as many of the consequences of climate change as we can, and by adapting to as many of the unmitigated consequences of climate change as we can. If I'm elected, I will work to do just that. I am Ernie Whiteside, and I'm asking for your support to be the next state representative for Michigan House District 56.